when first thought, submit spirit before matter. Our celestial humanity arrives, awakening in a dream, an inception of our reality. So we live, we love, and then there is music. So we dance, we sing, we praise, we reflect. In the infinite in between, the now that was, faces dance in our dreams. Some familiar, some a singular cosmic composition. In the irrelevance of time, we realize the passion of the random action, learning the lesson that the brotherhood of man is far more important than the ego of any individual. Imagination becomes the sound of thought, traveling at the speed of art. So we paint on the canvas of our ephemeral encounters, a masterpiece of memory that lives in the eternity of a child's.
Hello?
Hey.
Hi.
How you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you?
All is well. You ready to do that thing?
Yep, I'm ready whenever you are.
Let me get this note and pull this note up. Got all these notes locked in my phone. Okay. So how have you been?
I'm great.
Okay.
And it took quite a bit. Just navigating just a bunch of regular work today, but I'm doing pretty good.
Okay, that's good. Good to hear from you. Let's get right into it. So, why the Phoenix? What is the significance of your totem?
Well, Bilal, this probably goes back to the late 90s when I was hanging out at Cafe Mahogany. And during the time, it was ran by Joel Fluent Green at the time, and then it got turned over to Rod for a little while, and then Joel came back, and now he's still doing it. And during the time coming up in my 20s, I found myself, first I was just going to perform just to be a part of the poetry scene and like kind of, be like a little beatnik poet or something. And so my poems were very cheesy and a lot about love. And I ended up finding myself inside of an abusive relationship. And during the confines of that relationship, there were many people in the poetry community, when they found out that I was in the situation, protected me, helped me get out of the situation, and kind of renamed me as Phoenix, because I had endured the tumultuous relationship.
Wow,
and came out shining like gold. So I will say that the Detroit arts community is the community that gave me my name, and it's just stuck with me since the 90s.
Wow, that's powerful. Mm-hmm. And segue from that, I'll go right into. I'll get the gritty stuff right out the way.
Okay.
Are the issues of domestic violence and abuse being adequately addressed and dealt with in society?
I think that I think that there are organizations that are targeting this kind of stuff. I mean, I know here in Detroit, Kalima Johnson does Sasha Center, which is for sexual assault, but she does talk about some domestic violent issues in her workshops. So I think the Sasha Center has been doing the work for a very, very long time here in our community. In terms of hearing about it in the mainstream news, I don't think that we hear as much about domestic violence as much as we hear a lot about police brutality and crime. I don't think that it gets the same kind of publicity unless they are, super wealthy, affluent, popular people in pop culture. So I wouldn't say that the world is ignoring it per se, because I know that there are organizations that contribute a lot of time and effort to this. I would just say that it's not as prominent as racial discrimination or police brutality in terms of what shows up in our mainstream media.
Okay. 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 Let me ask you this. Going back to the beginning, what is the marriage of poetry and music? I'm a big fan of your voice as a singer and whatnot, and a poet. And so, what is the marriage of poetry and music?
For me personally, they're the same thing. You know what I'm saying? One just has musical instruments to it, and the other one is just pure vocals and a vibe. I think you can't have music without poetry in it. And I think that poetry can be inspired by the world sound. And when I think about that as an artist, the sounds that are happening in the world do tend to become music for me. And so I think that marriage is the solid type bond. They should be best friends. It doesn't have to be competition between either one of them, because they're both incredibly important. And as you know, to my work, it's vital that I have both of those components.
Okay, so expounding on that, so what does music and poetry mean to you, and what are some of your favorite poets, songs, or musicians?
So music and poetry mean the world to me. They're pretty much how I vibe. I've been singing since I was 4 or 5 years old. Started off in the church, and I've been writing poetry since the late 90s. I would definitely say that in the beginning, when I was doing poetry, I was using poetry as the gimmick so that I could actually sing songs, because I didn't think that they could coexist together. But as I began to move further along in my career as an artist, I found that marrying the music and poetry together gave me kind of my own distinct vibe in the community, and it opened doors for me. And then I've done them both individually as well. So my music career has been amazing. I've put out a couple of albums. My poetry career has been amazing. I'm still teaching kids right now with Inside Out Literary Arts Project. So I get to not only continue to write as an artist, but I get to be a teaching artist as well, which is phenomenal. Some of my favorite poets right now, a couple of books that I'm actually teaching in my classes are Helium by Rudy Francisco, Detroit Poems by Joel Fluent Green, and Butcher by Natasha T. Miller. So two of those artists, Tasha and Joel, are both Detroit artists, and then Rudy Francisco is out of the Bay Area. And in terms of musicians, singers, performers, locally, some of my favorite musicians are Janice. She goes by Jody now. I love Kenny Watson. He is a Detroit staple. Even though she is mainly a poet, I love the stuff that Jessica Care Moore has been doing with Black Women Rock. And favorite MC is Miss Corona. Not so local. I think one of my favorite vocalists and musicians of all time is Stevie Wonder.
What about what are some of your favorite poems or songs?
Poems. I would say first let me start with songs. Some of my favorite songs would be Visions by Stevie Wonder. I think that's probably one of my favorites. I'm not one who makes believe. I know that leaves are green. They only change to brown when autumn comes around. I know just what I say. Today's not yesterday. And all things have an ending. Like, I mean, bruh, fire, right?
Yeah.
Fire. And in terms of poetry, I think one of the most influential poems that have affected me this year was the poem that Amanda Gorman did for the presidential inauguration, and just really summarizing how the country has shifted and changed, and all of the craziness that was happening in the world at the time of the actual inauguration, and how we still dare to hope, dare to dream, dare to believe that we can somehow come on the other side of this. So I think one of the poems that definitely has staying power for me is that one. And then Rudy Francisco has a poem that I love called My Honest Poem, that he performed for Button Poetry. And in his honest poem, he talks about how he's a bit socially awkward, but that he feels like he's still one of God's favorite people. And so I think that honesty tends to be awkward for others.
That's powerful.
But I think that honesty tends to be awkward for others, but his poem was so brazenly honest about a man that is still just trying to be the best, most authentic version of himself, and hopeful that he can continue to remain God's heartbeat. So
That's inspiring. That's inspiring. Yeah. So, keeping with the spirit of the spoken word and poetry, what is the duty of an artist, either a poet or a visual artist or a musician or musical artist?
I think one of my jobs as a poet, which is something that we pour into the mission statement for Inside Out, I just think that at this time, one of our biggest jobs as artists is to create bravely. Making sure that we're putting content out there that changes hearts and minds, lifts spirits, speaks to the issues of the day. Because remember, back in the day, beatnik poets and the church was how you got some of your gossip and information about what was happening actually in the community.
Right,
And during our Black Ink Collective days, Black Ink spent a lot of time creating poems and content that was based on current events that were happening. So we ended up kind of, heralding what's in the news. If there was a death, if there was a celebration, if there was governmental policies and changes, we felt like it was our job as artists to stay linked to current events and then create brave content so that we could inform. And so I think that position as an artist still remains, but we also need to be creating bravely and inclusively for the world around us, and maybe to merge the idea that we have more things that connect us than divide us, so that we could be like a little more harmonious. Do I think that we'll be able to move into some sort of world utopia? I do not. But do I think that that artists could provide a balancing act? Everybody loves a good song. Most people can deal with a good poem. Art influences all of our lives. And so if we use those arts to unite rather than divide, I think that would be one of the bigger duties / responsibilities of the artist.
That's what's up. Wow, that was a dynamic explanation of that. That's the deepest explanation I've heard somebody say in a while. Wow, yeah. So getting back, touching on where you touched on about the church and the information lines and whatnot, how important is spirituality to life in this day and time?
Um, Spirituality is a slippery slope. You know what I'm saying? I think that people need things to hope in, and sometimes hoping in a source outside of ourselves or tapping into our own personal divinity can be a driving force for us to forge forward, remain hopeful, believe that our presence on the planet at this time, in this hour, would give us an opportunity to impact change in the world around us. So I would say, personally for me, spirituality and openness to the paths of others has yielded beautiful friendships, relationships, healthy debates, discussions that I never would have found myself in before. I think that there is a bit of God in all of us, and all of us are equally human and divine. And I think seeing the divine and the God inside of others is fairly enlightening.
Wow. 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 So, having said all that, with what you said about relationships, what are some secrets to a good relationship?
Well, I've been with my husband for 12 years. We've been married. We just celebrated our 10th.
Congratulations.
Yeah, we just celebrated 10 years together, married, and we've been together for 12 years. And I think for me, first and foremost, a relationship is only as good as the two people that are inside of it relating to each other. So I think people have to make their own choices in the relationship. They get to choose what their relationship looks like for them. And so I think one of the things that works well for me and my husband, one, is that there's a ton of humor in our relationship. My husband, Tony, is hilarious, and he makes it an intentional point to find ways to make me laugh every day. Like, I always feel loved, but he makes me laugh because the world is so serious. So he makes me find moments to laugh. And then candidly, all of the shit that we did to get each other early on, like going to hang out, grabbing a drink at a bar, holding hands, taking in movies, stuff like that, none of those things changed when we got married. Like, we just kept doing those same things. So Tony is still my road dog. I can still go out with him and slam down a couple of cocktails for the night and crack some jokes. We enjoy a good hang with each other and friends. Like, I think nurturing our actual friendship and not becoming stuffy and feeling like, oh, we're married now, so we got to do stuffy shit. Like, we don't do that. We just keep an open line of communication with each other. We don't really yell, which is difficult for me because I'm a Cancer and I love the hostility of all emotions. And so when I'm mad, I can go and be like, I'm fucking mad. But that does not work in a relationship with Tony. So he prefers that we say, hi, but what you said made me feel like this. So it took me a couple of years to get to that point.
That's my next question. Why is Tony so cool, and how did he win your heart?
Yes, he is. He's really chill. I think that Tony won my heart with honesty and humor. I mean, I really think that was the basis of it. For those who aren't aware, although I feel like most of the world is, I'm in an interracial relationship, and my ideal man was not one that wasn't black. You know what I'm saying? I was actively seeking, searching, dating a black guy, and this white dude showed up onto the poetry scene. He came into Cliff Bells and was looking to relieve some of his own issues from a bad marriage across the mic, and he would just strike up conversations with me and would be so kind and so humorous. And I remember telling him when we went out, before we went out on our first date, we were kind of just talking on the phone, and I was like, you nice and everything, but you white. So, you're white. And he was like, I'm white. And I was like, yeah, you're white. And he was like, okay, well, how's single working out for you? I was like, damn. Okay,
He came right back
what
at
time
you.
you think you want to pick me up?
He came right back at you, didn't he?
He came right back. Like he had like a natural swag. He grew up in the hoods of Detroit, so you know he's a bit of a wigger. You know what I'm saying? Like he had his own vibe, marched to the beat of his own drum, and that transparency. We went out on our first date, Bilal. We moved in with each other 3 months later. 2 years after that, we were married, and we've never gone back. Like from the moment that we started our first date, it was truly the one night stand that never ended, and we still in love. Like
he had a serious backhand he laid down.
Right?
That's what's up. That's what's up.
Yeah.
That's what's up. Let me ask you this. As far as going back, I'm gonna go back into the grid a little bit.
Okay.
Why do you think women, children, and elders are targeted so for abuse?
Because it's easy. Because because it's easy. Children are naive, trusting, hopeful that the people who have been assigned to take care of them will take care of them. Elders are more on the feeble side. Same situation as children, going into their elderly years, hoping that they would be golden and that they wouldn't be taken advantage of. Technology divides make it easy to target elders. Women, I don't know that it's as easy to target women anymore because they're biting back. Particularly in terms of sexual abuse, you see this with, the Me Too movement. Again, organizations like Sasha Center, some women hit back as well. So I just think that bullies gon' bully. You know what I'm saying? They find what they think is a feeble or weaker target, and they pounce on people's insecurities. So I think that that's one of the reasons.
Okay. So, with that, what is the true value of family, specifically children, elders, siblings, and parents? And you can talk about them individually if you like, or collectively.
I think that, I think that currently I'm writing a book. I'm working on a first memoir. It's filled with a series of essays and poems that talk about the mother wound. Because my relationship with my mom is, it's difficult. You know what I'm saying? Like it's complicated.
Yeah.
So I have a complicated relationship with her, and she had a complicated relationship with her mother, who had a complicated relationship with her mother. So there's been this generational mother wound that's kind of gone through my family, and I think that I had a Cosby Show, Cliff and Claire Huxtable kind of ideation of what a family should look like, and or even June Cleaver, Leave It to Beaver. You know what I'm saying? Like but that wasn't the family that I was actually born into. I do think that while families can be complicated, having the foundation of family is important. But a lot of Black people have experienced brokenness all the way back to slavery, from having our families and homes disrupted. This systemic racism in this country makes it difficult to keep families together. And so if there are people out there who can harness what a true family looks like, issues and all, and still be able to gather together and have that nurturing and that foundation, like, shout out to them. And for the few of us that come from those broken spaces, I hope that we can create our own little small subsets of families, so that we can get the nurturing and healing that we need. Because sometimes family isn't the one that you're born into. Sometimes family is the one that you choose. And I think that both of those foundations completely influence the human that you're going to be in the world. So no man can really be an island. Trying to do shit on your own is difficult. Two is better than one. And so I think that if you come from a broken family, but you can still go out and the child in you, the unhealed child in you, the unhealed adult in you can still go out and create a family that you choose for people that will love you back to the most authentic version of yourself. You should count yourself lucky.
Wow. So what is real love, and what are some keys to real love?
I think real love starts with oneself. You can't give from an empty cistern or pour from an empty cup. And so I think that self-care and pouring into oneself, healing broken wounds, getting therapy if you need therapy. Therapy is not a bad word. And therapy is always not found in spirituality. Sometimes you just need a motherfucker that got an ist at the end of their name to take care of you. You know what I'm saying? And so I think that when you are able to pour true love into yourself and have a healthy relationship with yourself, then you can go out into the world and have healthy relationships and real love with other people. But the first love has to start with yourself. That's the key to real love. Okay. Self-love. Because, treat others the way you want others to treat you. Love your neighbor as yourself. You can't love anybody until you start with you. You can't give what you don't got. So you've got to start with self-love, and then that self-love will empower you to go out into the world to be a non-trash human to other people.
True indeed. Okay, next question. What is your view of the world? What has been your view of the world during this pandemic, and how has it affected you?
Ooh, child. The pandemic just brought out the worst, right? Like, either it's gonna do what it does. Like, if you were a terrible person to begin with, the pandemic brought out your absolute worst. And if you were a decent human, it's gonna bring out your best. But the pandemic has been stressful, Bilal. We got this invisible disease, whether concocted in a science lab or whatever conspiracy theory that they want to put out there. The numbers aren't lying. You know what I'm saying? Like, bodies have been dropping all over the world.
Right.
And seeing some of the numbers, there was this exhibition that they put up on Belle Isle. Not really sure if they were doing it to, encourage people to protect themselves or for shock value, but they had this whole signs all over Belle Isle of all of the dead people that this pandemic has taken out. And I think what was particularly alarming is that I was thinking that it was going to just be all older people on there, and it wasn't. Like, it was people younger than me that have died at the hands of this pandemic. And I caught COVID in 2020 and battled with it for about 6 or 7 weeks. It was the worst experience of my life. I thought that I was going to kill Tony. I thought I was going to die. And I just think that it's very difficult for me that this has been something that's been made political. And I don't want to fight with the vaccinated or the unvaccinated, the masked or the unmasked. I just want us to stop dying. Like, I just want the shit to be done. Yeah. So I think the pandemic has been stressful.
Okay. Why is healthy living so difficult for foodies?
Dog, because food is good. What? I mean, what? This is a great segue because food is good. So one of the things that the pandemic has enhanced for me, when I tell you that I probably have ordered over the last year anywhere between 15 and 16 new cookbooks. And since I'm home full time and not running out in these streets, doing a whole bunch of stuff, like I have ample time to like beef up my cooking skills. Honey, she's a chef over here. Like my husband is actually a chef by trade. But girlfriend over here, she's doing her thing with these cookbooks. So I don't know. I mean, like, I do my best with healthiness, but we in a panorama, honey. I'm fine. It's difficult for us because we in a pandemic.
Panorama. Panorama. I feel you. Because, you right about that. Food is just good,
It's just good.
I got to a point where I've eaten so much of everything now, so food is just fuel now. It just becomes fuel. And then when I want anything specific, it becomes delicacy. I don't eat it that often. Like one of my favorite things is lamb chops, and it's like I don't eat them often, but when I do, it's like I indulge.
So I think my pandemic foodie moment came when I prepared oxtails for the first time.
Oh yeah, I love oxtails.
Bro, you can't tell me nothing.
I love oxtails.
Okay?
Yeah, I love oxtails. So let me ask you a couple more questions.
Okay.
What impression did your parents burn into your psyche that's still with you today?
I didn't get to grow up with my dad, but I was told that I inherited his charisma. But all of my gifts, the poetry, the singing, that's come from my mom. And the lasting impression that I think that she has left in my mind as an adult is that when doors don't immediately open for you or open for you in the ways that you want them to, then you be the door. And so I'm not looking for seats at a table in life. I'm the motherfucking table. I'm the table. And so I just draw affirming, positive energy and opportunities to myself as a table. So recognizing my own divinity, understanding that there is no spoon, I can be a door. I think those are the things that my mom and grandma really instilled in all of the women actually in my family.
That's what's up.
That's
what's up. Express your idea of balance.
For balance, I think that you have to have a healthy mixture of work and play. Flat out. As much as I grind, and I got about 7 or 8 jobs at this point, as much as I grind, I also play hard. You know what I'm saying? Pre-pandemic, my husband and I loved to vacation. We've got a ton of stamps on our passport books. Loving to see the world, taking that in, showing the world. I mean, even though I'm in an interracial relationship with my man, I'm still black. And I think that sometimes this city makes you feel like you can't go past like 8 Mile. People just don't want to get off the block. And I just want to show brothers and sisters that there is a world outside of our blocks.
Indeed.
So I think it's part joy because I enjoy traveling, but part education that black people are everywhere. We can be anywhere we want to be with some careful planning. So I think that balance looks like joyful production and then joyful play as well.
That's what's up.
Yeah.
Name 3 books that have impacted your life and how.
So I'm working on, as I stated, my memoir, and there is this book of anthologies. Hold on, I want to pull up the name. It's called Things My Mother and I Don't Talk About, and it was edited by this. Let me pull up her name. I don't want to miss her. There were 15 artists. One of my favorite writers is Kiesi Lehman. He's fantastic. But The book was pulled together by this woman by the name of Michelle Philgate, and she pulled 15 artists to talk about the ways that we've dealt with our mothers, sort of an overall discussion of the early parts of the mother wound. So what my mother and I don't talk about includes these 15 essayists that talk about it. So I think that that's probably been one of the most influential books for me right now as of today, considering my research. I think The Bluest Eye by Toni Morrison opened up my world to Toni Morrison, who I think is one of the best writers in the world, not just the best Black writer. I just think that she has left a lasting legacy long past her life.
Yeah,
so even though she's gone, we are going to be reading her forever. You know what I'm saying? And then, quite honestly, the third book that has been particularly influential to me during the pandemic has been Natasha T. Miller's Butcher. I talk about this book of poems wherever I go, because T. Miller so the book talks about how she's managing the grief of losing her brother. Her brother was murdered. But I think what it actually does is talk about grief in all of its stages. And so the pandemic has been kind of like this pandemic of grief as well. Like this, it's been this collective shared grief that we've had with everyone in the world, because this is the first time in my lifetime that I've experienced something like this that the whole world was going through at the same time. And I think going through her book helped me to manage that grief, or to at least give definition to what it was that I was feeling. So I would say what my mother and I don't talk about: 15 Writers Break the Silence by Michelle Philgate. I would say The Bluest Eye by Toni Morrison. And I would say Butcher by Natasha T. Miller.
Wow. I have to look those up.
Yeah, good stuff. Good stuff.
Can you get Natasha's book online?
Yes, you can. You can buy it right through. There's a website. I think it's being sold through Button Poetry, so you can get her book through Button Poetry.
Okay, that's what's up. Can you bless us with a gift? Yeah,
I have a poem that I wrote now during the pandemic, and it's called All the Pandemic Feels, and I'll share that with you now.
Okay.
All the Pandemic Feels. I made more money than I ever have in my entire life as an artist, sitting in front of the screen of my computer, cute top, optional bottom, painted on smile, pain carefully masking separation anxiety behind 10 coats of mascara, black opal dark powder, a good Instagram promoted concealer, and a dewy bronzer to catch the light of my circle lamp just right in this pandemic. I have performed on more stages, impacted and touched more souls, have somehow become more popular, more of a fake local celebrity, all in a Zoom, while simultaneously longing to physically touch and connect with anyone, anything in person, from the lonely asylum, gym, restaurant, performance venue, sanctuary, prison of my 2-bedroom apartment in this pandemic. I have learned that I was too busy, sat in way too many meetings that could have been emails, missed far too many opportunities to cook for my lover, giggle with my nieces, brunch with my friends, take a deep breath, sleep, because I was way too busy sitting in meetings that could have been emails in this pandemic. I have learned that grief can become a lifestyle. Will dance across my television, computer, and cell phone screens, raw and bare. Will spout the lies of a deranged former president. Will bring tanks and armies to a peaceful protest. Will hit the snooze button when white people destroy monuments. Will show live murders of black people on Facebook. Will glorify the hatred of black people and brown people and Asian people and gay people and all things that house color in their bones in this pandemic. I have been tired. I've been holding my breath. I've been choking on sobs. I've been trying to get on a regular hygiene schedule. I've been quarantined. I've been masked. I've been properly sanitized. I've been fully vaccinated. I am bored. I'm over it. I'm scared of everything. I'm ready for everything. I am desperate to find a new normal. Yet I have learned joy, have heard the relentless hope in my own bones whisper, keep pressing. This matters. Watch young people walk across front lawn stages as graduates. Watch the elders learn technology with vigor. I have used every app invented for gatherings with all the people I never had time for before. I have listened to the sacred voice inside of myself and found ways to fall in love with me, to make myself more loving in the world around me. I am ready to live again. I'm ready to live in compassion. I'm ready to fully love my neighbor as myself. The world is reopening. I am open. The world is reopening. I am cautiously stepping into the light. The world is reopening. I hope we can somehow be better after all of this. The world is reopening. I am ready. I am open.
Wow. Wow. Thank you very much. I have a special request.
What is your special request?
What's the one? Writing on blank paper.
I can give you a little piece of that.
Yeah, little.
That blank paper, ink pen in my right. You're the inspiration, hey, for the poetry I write. Metaphor and similes, invasive to my mind. And oh, nightmares and all my dreams, materialize as I strive. Can't stop it if I wanted to. Can't help it, these words are right. I can't stop it if I wanted to. I can't help it, no way, no, stop it. I can't help it, these words are right. I can't stop it if I wanted to. I can't help it, no. You got me writing you my poems. Breathing you do my poems. I've been loving you, my poems. I'm straight breathing you. Say, looking at blank paper. Hey, oh, ink pen in the right. Say, you're the inspiration for the poetry I write.
Wow. It's always one of my favorites. Thank you very much. I've enjoyed this. And
me too. This is awesome.
Yeah. This is a new project that I'm doing, and hopefully and prayerfully it'll be continued long after I'm gone to display and expose the voices of millions, so that people can hear the different perspectives of life and experiences of the human experience.
I love it. This is great. I feel like you are our historian. You are making sure that we are captured until perpetuity. You know what I'm saying?
You know, I mean,
locking our voices in forever.
Yeah,
I'm so grateful.
A lot of people, they're like, "Well, I wish I could interview Oprah. I wish I could interview Denzel." And I was like, "That's all cool and good," but I was like, you know what? The people I know personally and have been, performing with and doing it, I said they are just as, if not even more dynamic to me than what we see on this TV screen. I was like, because everybody has such a dynamic view of different things, and when you listen to everybody's view, intelligent dialogue, as it has been said, intelligent dialogue is the key to all conflict resolution. And so the more that people engage in intelligent dialogue, the more we'll be able to solve the problems and come up with solutions of humanity.
Yes, totally agree.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you, my love. Send me a link when it's all up.
Okay.
Okay.
Peace.
Peace.